Hey everyone, Golden Ninja 3000 here again. Today I'm reviewing LEGO Creator Expert set number 10300, Back to the Future Time Machine. This has 1,872 pieces, 2 exclusive minifigures, and it retails for $180 in the US. This released on April 1st, and it's actually been a set that's been rumored for quite some time. I am not a Back to the Future fan. I have not watched the movies, so I'm just reviewing this as someone that likes Creator Expert cars. So I believe both minifigures in this set originate from Back to the Future 2 when they're wearing futuristic clothing from 2015. This is Marty McFly. Great torso print. Like, that's really thick, detailed printing. It looks really good, and I like the color of his shirt underneath. The legs are really nice as well. They have very complicated shoes, which is great to see. That's not dual molded, it's just printed. So the white could be like a little bit more opaque, I think, but it's a pretty nice design. Sadly, he does not have an exclusive face print though. He's just using the young Han Solo face. Here's Doc Brown. I also really like his printing. LEGO has matched up the edges of his coat very well across the hips, legs, and torso. That's something that they kind of mess up sometimes. But I'm actually really impressed with how good this figure looks. Again, I really like the graphic design. I love this face print for him, like with this visor. I just think it's really funny. And of course, this hairpiece was made for him back with the Dimension sets. And he's got an alternate face there that shows him without that visor on. You get a UCS style plaque and stand with this set. This set is not called the DeLorean because I think LEGO didn't get the rights for this one, so they just call it the Time Machine. And you've got some information here, but what's really weird is that there's not enough room for the minifigures to stand properly. You've got some studs here, but you have to leave, you only get one stud of space between both of the figures, which means that they basically can't actually fit side by side unless you want them to be falling off the stand, or you have to position them with their hands forward and back for them to fit together. So that's a really stupid design in my opinion. I have no idea why they didn't just put a plate that was 2 studs longer to give enough room for them to stand comfortably, because the only other thing to do is to offset them, which just looks odd. Alright, I'm gonna reiterate that I know nothing about this movie. I watched the first 40 minutes of it in a class in my freshman year of high school, but I wasn't really paying attention, so everything I know comes from the instruction manual. From my understanding, Doc Brown took an old car that's a DeLorean, which I don't know if that's a car company or the model or whatever. It's not a company, it's the model of car, right? But I don't, so that's the extent of my knowledge. All I know is that he took an old car and he turned it into a time machine by adding a bunch of stuff to it. And it has to go 88 miles per hour or something to be able to travel to the future. So that's cool. I bought this set because I thought that it looks cool, and it does look cool. My favorite part of it is probably the front, because I really like, first of all, these drum lacquered silver pieces look great. I think it's a shame that the entire car isn't done like that, but obviously that would be insanely expensive. This is one of the only printed pieces in this set with the DMC logo. And I really like the way that the headlights are built down here, as well as the grill underneath. And actually, something about the build experience for this set, I've built several Creator Expert cars. I have 4 other ones, plus the 1989 Batmobile, which is basically the same style. And I've never built one like this before. For the first 5 or 6 bags, I honestly had no idea what I was building. And then it was really interesting to see it come together. So I thought that it was a very unique build experience. Continuing with the front, LEGO has actually developed a new sloped piece over here. You can kind of see the angle that it goes at. And you can actually get inside the hood. So it's kind of hard to pry it up, especially if you don't have nails like I don't right now. So LEGO actually included a little Bionicle eyepiece in there in orange, that little piece right there. And so you can get your finger in there, not very well, but you can basically get your finger in there and use it to flip it up. So I'll show you guys that better later, because that ties into a function with the wheels. But once that's flipped up, you do have storage for 2 accessories. You have Marty's hoverboard, which is in style with the car, so it doesn't actually fit the minifigure, but that's a really nice sticker. And then you have this box of plutonium. I don't know what movie this relates to, but it's got some nice stickers, and then you open it up and there's the plutonium. There's not really room for anything else in there. But you can see this like new piece used here. It's also used in the Mandalorian Starfighter this summer. And you can also see the edges of like the wheel wells in there. And I just think it's really clever that LEGO actually made room for a couple of accessories in this set, because that's not something that I would have expected them to do. The shaping along the sides is really nice. I love the way that the like wheel arches are built. I also really like all of these cables like running through the car. It really adds to the look. And I also love the way that the doors like link up with the sides of the car using these kind of corner tiles. The tires are nice, and those are printed mud guards. So that's like, I think the only other printed piece in the set. I think pretty much everything else is a sticker except for like that common print up there. We're going to come back around to the middle, but I wanted to go to the end now. You have more drum lacquered pieces going down the side. There is a huge gap there, which I don't really like, but there's no good way to adjust that. I feel like it would have been better if the designer could have made the gap smaller up here and then larger at the bottom, because at the bottom it's not quite as noticeable. And I forgot to mention, there are like a couple of sand blue highlights along the car as well, and that also like fits very well with the light gray silver color scheme. All right, the back of the car has a bunch of stuff that I don't know anything about. So like, I don't know what these things sticking out the back are. You do have that iconic license plate, out of time, which I did know about that. And I love the shaping over here, like with these wedge slopes, like kind of like angling in around the cheese slopes. Like the way that the headlights and the taillights are built is just very, very interesting to me. And then you have like all of the modifications that Doc Brown made to the engine. So you've got a bunch of hoses. You have this big thing sticking out of the top that I'll show you guys better in a second. There's actually a little button over here that activates a light brick inside the car. But yeah, like I said, I don't know what like any of this stuff is. I don't know how accurate it is to the movie, but I think it looks really good, especially with LEGO using 3 different types of hoses. So the piece sticking up, oh, and I really like the sand green unicorn horns there. I think that that's a nice detail. The thing sticking out of the top of the car, I think it's supposed to be like a lightning rod or something to like harness electricity, from my understanding. And it's actually topped off with Bo Peep's hook from the LEGO Toy Story sets in black. That's really clever parts usage, and I think it fits the scale of the car really well. And you can modify like the back and the front to turn this car into either the version from Back to the Future 2, or Back to the Future 3. I went with the original. I'm going to show you guys pictures of the other modifications, but I'm not actually going to change the car for this video. I completely forgot to talk about the windshield as well, but this is a brand new mold. Love it when LEGO does that. I'm a sucker for like a brand new molded windshield. And it came wrapped in a thin adhesive plastic. This was the greatest thing I've like ever seen in a LEGO set in years. So this basically just came wrapped around that piece to protect it from getting damaged by any other pieces. And that's the kind of crap that we've been asking for years. So I wish LEGO could find a way to avoid smaller glass pieces getting scratched, but I think it's great that they're finally doing something to stop the large, specially molded ones from getting scratched. The windshield is framed using these like just assemblies with the Mixel's ball joint pieces and a couple of plates. That looks okay, although there are some gaps along there. Like, I think it would look better if these were kind of turned on their side, but there's not that much space to play around with. There's also no glass in the sides of the windows, which is okay. Like, we expect that from Creator Expert cars, but the windows are so small that I feel like it's kind of weird on this one. And this car does have gull wing doors, which means that they open out like this, except they can't stay open. This is the biggest design flaw with this set by far, because I have no idea why LEGO couldn't have included a piece to prop these up somewhere, or just like some other way to keep them open, because all you can do is kind of like hold them up here, but they just fall back down immediately. And I think that really sucks, because it would also be cool to display it with these up. All right, so opening this door, because we have to do this one at a time. The seats are shaped pretty well. Reminds me of the ones in like the Tumbler and the 1989 Batmobile, actually. You can see some gaps in the floor. Sorry. Yeah, you can still see some gaps there, so that kind of sucks, but it is in regards to a play feature. So, I mean, I would have rather had the play feature than have the floor be completely covered. You've also got some prints up there. And then you have a bunch of stickered pieces that you can kind of see through here. And this is why I wish the door could stay open, because I can't lift this thing up to show you. Like, I can't lift it up to the camera and hold the door open at once. So you've got like the iconic like date thing back there. So it's got October 26th in 1985, 85 and 85. I thought one of those is supposed to be like 2015. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't watched the movie. Over here you have a plutonium chamber thingy. You have a gear shift in the middle over here. And then on the other side, you've got the steering wheel. But one other thing I wanted to talk about while we're on this side, because it's just easier to see, there's a bunch of ugly colors visible. And I really hate that. I'm perfectly okay with LEGO using weirdly colored parts when they're hidden in the finished build. But like these yellows and that nougat, like they're so, or sorry, that dark orange, it's so obvious. And I know that that piece exists in like black and gray, so I don't understand why LEGO like leaves those visible in collector sets like this. All right, so on the other side, you can see the steering wheel and you can see another sticker up there. Sorry, it's not focusing. It's really hard to get a camera in here. There's also another print on the side. And then in the middle is the flux capacitor, but again, it's like very, very hard to look at. So I think I'm just going to try to show you through the windshield, which again, like it's kind of hard to get to focus. But there is a sticker on there that says shield eyes from light. And there's a grappling hook hidden all the way in the back to like create that three-pronged structure. And that's what the play feature button is for, because that will actually make the flux capacitor light up, which is really cool. It's just a shame that it's pretty much like impossible to see unless you're looking directly through the windshield. So I'm sorry, I can't show it to you guys better than that. And then finally, we flip this upside down so that you guys can see just how insane this car is. This is why the build process wasn't like any other LEGO Creator Expert car, because there's such an intricate play feature that you're doing a lot of Technic building at the start, and then it's kind of just a lot of like different like sub-assemblies barely connected together. So I could not tell like where the floor of the car was going to be until like bag 4, I think. But this big red lever is what activates the play feature. So if you just lift up the car and like pull down on this lever, it activates the flying mode, like the moving wheels. So I'm going to try to actually show that to you a little bit better because it's kind of cut off on top. But you just have to move the lever like up and down, and rubber bands and like the Technic function just like pulls them in really easily. So that's why the car doesn't have steering. I think that that's a really good trade-off. I would not want steering over this. And you'll notice that there are some clear bricks down here. That's so that when you put the car like on the ground in flying mode, it'll actually levitate above the ground. You can take those clear bricks off and just rest it on the wheels, but I think having it actually levitate like a brick above the ground, it adds a lot to the look. And this is like what I was really excited about with this set, because I was just really impressed that the designers managed to include this kind of like basic wheel turn feature that we see in a lot of smaller sets. I'm really impressed that they were able to include it in something this big. Here are all of the extra bits to convert the car to like the other forms. You've got different hubcaps for one of the models. These are pretty cool. You have an alternate license plate. It's a nice sticker as well, although the license plate's very hard to change because, as you can see, it's like on a window pane. Then you have like this thing that would go at the back, and then you have Mr. Fusion with some stuff inside. Again, don't know what that's about, but that would also go like kind of like in the middle of that. And then this goes on the hood, I think in like the Back to the Future 3 version. There's actually a butterbeer mug on here, which I think is pretty funny. And a second Bo Peep's hook, which is really nice. But some parts are reused like from the base model of the car, which is why like these things are kind of incomplete. Here are the normal extra pieces. You've got quite a few actually. The box for this set is much smaller than you would expect for a $180 set. Like it seems more like a 120 to 150 size box, but I love the lightning on the front. I just think that this is kind of like deceitful advertising because it like the box makes the entire front look chromed or like drum lacquered. Like this all looks so much more silver on the front of the box than it actually is in person, and I don't like that. On top, you have a nice view of the car. On the side, you have that shot of it from the instruction manual. And at the back, you've got the flying mode. Something else that I don't like, though, First of all, that image of the flux capacitor, you're never going to be able to see it like that. So that's kind of also misleading. Second of all, this is like a thumb punch box, which is really weird on a set of this size. Like a set this expensive should be sealed with tape so that you don't need to ruin the box like that. So I didn't really like that. The instruction manual is pretty classy. I love this image on the front of it. And then the back has a nice one as well. As can be expected, there's a bunch of information at the start about the movie, which is cool. There's that thing that I was confused about from the inside of the car, and then a little bit about the design process, which I always love to learn more about. This shows you how bag 11 makes like the 3 different cars. And so actually when you get to the end of the manual, that's a little bit too late, but yeah, this lets you like choose your favorite, it says. So you can see the differences between the base model that I built and the other ones. I feel like the third one is the most different because of the hubcaps and then the thing on the hood. But yeah, I just didn't feel like building the other versions because I don't really care about them. Overall, I think that this is a pretty good set, but I do think I misspoke. I think I said that the price is $180, and I think it's actually $170. I'm sorry for getting that wrong. I bought this in Canada where it's 220 Canadian, so it's a little bit more expensive than it is in the US. 170 is a much better price than 180, but I still think it's not stellar for the price. Honestly, 160 would probably be perfect for this set, but 150 does feel a bit low. Because, I mean, you do have a lot you can do with this set. There's a play feature, there's a light brick. You can, like, customize it to be any version of the 3 cars that you want it to be. And it has minifigures. I have to give them props on including minifigures, because the Ghostbusters Ecto 1 that came out at, like, the end of 2020, it didn't have any minifigures, which I think was really lame. So I'm glad that figures are included here, but I'm not glad that they have to like be crammed so close together on that stand. But honestly, the stand and then like the wings, or sorry, the doors, the gull wing doors not being able to stay open, those are my only 2 real complaints about this set. As someone that's not a fan of the movie, I just think it's a cool build. It was very interesting, very different from all of the other Creator Expert cars that I've built. And so I definitely don't regret buying this, even though I'm not a fan of the franchise. That being said, it's not something I'm going to keep. Like, this is absolutely the type of set that's going to be sold in like no more than like a year and a half. So take that as you will if you're not a fan of Back to the Future. That's it for today. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and check out my website, goldenninja3000.com, and I will see you guys with more videos soon. Bye for now.